are still here at the Woodstock Food Festival. And how are you feeling here?
I've been feeling very good, yes, thank you very much. How could you not feel so good?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful day and beautiful people everywhere.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you are all the time doing sports and...
Not all the time, but I've talked at the Woodstock Fruit Festival 3 years in a row now,
Okay.
and different subjects ranging from coconut to durian to calorie restriction or calorie saturation, which is the best, to cancer proofing your body, to medicine. Is it really necessary?
Absolutely.
And various subjects I've talked on in my 3 years of coming halfway across the world to the Woodstock Fruit Festival. By way of introduction, I'm Robert Lockhart. I have been raw vegan now for many years, probably 25 years.
Wow.
Raw vegan and vegetarian, haven't eaten meat since, well, I guess 45 years. I'm 70 next year, so it shows you can survive on a less cruel way of living than having to sustain yourself on meat, fish, chicken, dairy, pig. You know, it's just not on when you can live on beautiful raw food, which will fuel you far more efficiently than any of those other substances.
How did you get started with raw food?
Well, I got started when I did have problems when I was in my early 20s, and with arthritis and pain in the joints starting to happen, hair falling out. And it was because I was eating too high a protein and too high a fat diet, building up too many waste products which were lodging in the joints and causing problems. So yes, I came luckily to a lecture given by a guy named Paul Bragg, who was a nutritionist back in my youth, and he changed me to think outside the box and do something which was a little bit different. You see, one thing I've learned, if you want to be successful and don't want to get sick, you observe the masses but do the opposite. So if you see everyone else eating all sorts of junk and stuff like that, and you can rationally do something different, well, do it, because that's going to be better for your health, for sure. Yeah.
And what is for you the best diet, the best way to eat?
Yeah, I feel it is number one, you should try and aspire to being all raw plant food, okay? All raw plant food. We are most suited to a fruit-based diet because of our physiology. We have an intestine which is not suited to eating meat, fish or chicken, because those substances spend too long in our colon and build up toxins and poisons. So our fruit-based diet is the best diet in a raw form that you can have, because it places the least amount of strain on your body, okay? You'll still get old, you'll still die, no matter whether you're a fruitarian or not, but you will probably live a lot longer and with a more pain-free, happy existence than would otherwise be the case if you're eating as our normal Western civilization dictates. So this is what I've found anyway in my years of being vegan. And but people put labels on diet and people put labels on lifestyle. I prefer to think of it after a while as an alternative way of living in accordance with nature's laws.
Of course.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes. So
Like
that's it.
simplicity.
Simplicity, exactly. Simplicity in your eating habits, simplicity in your living habits too. You know, don't rely much on all the chemical products that are being produced today and being used to so-calledly make yourself more beautiful. If you can come beautiful from within you, that is the best way, because it's a glowing inner health which is important.
Of course.
Yes, so those are the couple of little things, yes.
And do you feel that in some way food affects the rest of your life? Is connected with your spirituality? Is it connected with your happiness, for example, or with your emotions?
Yes, definitely. Number one thing is that your trillions of cells in your body are made up of what you eat, virtually, okay? If you build those cells on meat and alcohol, that's what you'll crave. Build your cells on the higher vibrations that are found in fruit, that's what you'll tend to crave after a period of time. And that opens your awareness to, I think that it opens your awareness to more subtle, going with your own more subtle gut feelings often. And it opens yourself to more spiritual teachings that you come to think that will just start to come from within, and you'll start to have more compassion for other sentient living beings, you know, not necessarily only humans,
Yes.
etc. That just happens a bit more naturally, I think, once you're on a fruit diet. Now, you may think, no, I don't want to become a fruitarian or a raw vegan, because that sets me apart from the norm, you know, the normal person that's out there. But if you do, you'll find yourself far more satisfied, far more aware, far clearer thinking in your own thinking. Think logically, and just say to yourself, is it in accordance with nature's laws that I do such and such? Or then that'll help you to determine whether a course of action is appropriate or not. Yeah.
Two questions. What are your tips to someone who is just getting started in raw food and from a normal diet like
Yes.
me? And what about to be like strict with your diet?
How to maintain your diet on a good pattern you're talking about. Is that correct?
Yeah, or how make the shift, you know?
Yes, yes.
And what about to be really strict, because in some way maybe you are pushing yourself in a wrong direction. Or
Yes,
something.
I see what you mean. So number one, don't expect changes overnight. It all depends on the individual, their conditioning, their degree of medication that they've taken, their degree of how much they have eaten on a cooked food type of diet prior to changing to a raw food type of diet. It depends on their age, their vitality, so many things, whether you've had operations or what in your previous life's history. So generally, I would say the younger the person is, in their teens or 20s, changing more onto a raw food type of diet, they'll find it a lot easier than would an older person that's been subjected to more the evils of civilization in so many ways, through food, through addictions, and through pollution and mercury fillings, and all these things have to be taken into account. And you'd find that the younger the person, the more easily it is to adopt a more rational lifestyle. But even in an older person, given their age and their condition, their vitality, they can often, I've seen people change very rapidly within 2 or 3 weeks. Once they realize that they have to expect some symptoms of detoxification, expect some symptoms, for example, of headaches or maybe a cold, throwing off mucus, and these symptoms initially are the body spring cleaning and cleansing itself, as you probably realize. So expect those in the initial part, and expect to have to use your willpower a little bit when everyone else around you is telling you, live a little, have another cheeseburger, have another hamburger, live a little. If you keep on eating those cheeseburgers and hamburgers, that's exactly what you're going to do. You're only going to live a little. When you're eating raw foods down the track, you're going to live a lot, okay? So that's the brief answer to that question. And as far as staying rigidly on a raw food diet, being rigid is not good. Nature doesn't like rigidity in any way, even if it's rigid thinking and dogmatic thinking, because nature will always provide situations where rigid and dogmatic thinking is challenged, because that's what we are here on our planet for, is to experience our lives as being a certain amount of challenge. We are going to be learning. It's a learning process right through life. If you don't learn the first time, hopefully if you come back again as a reincarnated form, not that I can say that you will, but if you don't learn much during this lifetime and you only learn to eat hamburgers and cheeseburgers and pizzas and fast foods, you will develop problems. And if you don't realize that you're causing the existence of those problems that you develop by eating that type of food, well, you haven't learnt enough in this lifetime, and it'll require that you pass off the planet a little earlier and in a little more worse shape than you came onto the planet, that's for sure. You know? So don't be too rigid and dogmatic in your thinking. That is very important, because we try and maintain a certain amount of elasticity and spontaneity in our life is very important.
And hear the body.
Yes, exactly. So rigid thinking, dogmatic thinking, thinking that, right, I'm a raw fooder now, everyone else I look down and disdain. That is wrong, you know. Everyone else is at their own path and their own point of evolvement. So if we can realize that and lose the rigidity of our thinking, and think if you do slip off the path of being a raw fooder for a while, you'll realize how bad you feel once you slip off the path, and you'll come back to it, hopefully with joy and blessings.
Of course. And you, as a doctor, how are you using this lifestyle, raw food, etc., in your profession, and how do you feel the reaction of your colleagues, for example?
The reaction of the colleagues, well, I'm a chiropractic doctor and a naturopath, so most of my colleagues are drugless physicians as such, so it's not so bad, their reaction. But the definition of a true doctor is actually a teacher, not a healer. We should be teaching people how to live correctly, and if you can teach people the correct way of living, the correct way of eating, correct way of having positive mental attitude and good relationships, and the correct way of breathing, exercise, that sort of thing, if you can teach people, that's being a true doctor. And it's often difficult under the constraints of our modern civilized way of living, in order to have to earn the almighty dollar to pay rates and rents and electricity and water bills and all these things, that we can just go out and teach free love, and it's kind of difficult under the way our society is set up. But with the coming of technology too, that's also an aid, and people are starting to make their living out of the internet and expanding views over YouTube and various other ways, which I've seen so many changes, and people can make a living by being a teacher, and doctors can do that too. So I think that's probably the best way to go. Eventually it'd be great to get to the stage where people didn't need healing, they didn't need guidance, because it all comes naturally to them. But unfortunately that's not going to happen.
At the end, it's self-care.
Yes, the ideal is self-responsibility for your own health, but even that will be challenged at certain times in your life by maybe an accident or something like that you might have a challenge with, and you feel, for example, medical doctors. There are many medical doctors that are very, very good people. They just haven't been exposed to the right natural laws whereby they're able to teach their patients how to live correctly. They're under so many constraints of time and pressures from big pharmacological companies that are pushing all their drugs, and they can make a great living, but it's not a real satisfying lifestyle for most of them if they're just doing that, you know. So being a doctor, I would say, if you can more aspire to being a teacher, and that's what I try and do, teach by example. Even if you don't say anything, you're still teaching a person that might say, oh, he's into raw veganism, into raw food, you know. You've got to sort of maybe look the part, that you're not too overweight, you're still enjoying life, even though you might be in your 60s or 70s.
Of course.
So by doing that, you're still helping to teach other people too, you know.
What are you sharing in your lectures here at the festival?
At this festival I've been sharing, I have also an agricultural background and a fruit growing background, agricultural degree I did in New Zealand during my career, and for 27 years I had a durian plantation in northern part of tropical Australia, where I had 200 trees. I made mistakes in the growing of that, because that was in the first part of durians ever being grown in Australia, and so I learnt from a lot of those mistakes during those years.
Why durian?
Why durian? We have many pests up in northern Australia, such as the flying fox, a fruit bat which comes and eats all the fruit, like mangoes or rambutans or whatever. And the fruit bat is quite a big challenge to face if you want to try and grow a fruit crop. Durian, having the hard exterior, and you didn't have to pick it off the tree. When it is mature, it will fall off the tree, and 3 or 4 days later it starts to split and be ready to eat. So that was the reason.
There are like a lot of people crazy for durian. Why?
Yes.
Is that superfood or something?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of crazy for durian because it's a very satisfying fruit to eat. It has good levels of protein, minerals, very good levels of, a little bit high possibly in fat, but if you've got a very active lifestyle, that's probably not going to be a big issue. In fact, I lived on durian alone, no other food, no other fruit, no other water, nothing else but durian for 3 months.
Wow.
And I was getting them just off my own plantation, fresh, ready to go. Never felt healthier. It was great.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, all right, but still. And that was one of the reasons, unfortunately, that I got my wife. She didn't like durian, and so after a period of time, she said, "Yes, well, you don't really smell of durian when you're." The main thing is with eating it, I don't think your bodily emanations are particularly smelly or anything like that. It's very efficiently, all the volatile fatty acids, etc., that are in durian are broken down very efficiently by your body if you're eating more a mono type of diet, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was an interesting experience, a challenge.
Yeah. And what about the other lectures?
The other lectures I've spoken on calorie restriction and calorie saturation. That's an interesting one. Should we eat the maximum amount of calories that we can possibly cram into our bodies, or should we, as time goes on, tend to restrict the amount of calories coming into your body?
And do you have some information of that in internet or something?
Yes, if you go to my website, which is Sun Food Health Retreat, Sunfood Health Retreat, all one word, .com. I've got information on that posted at that Sunfood Health Retreat link. Okay. Yeah.
Are you coming back the next year?
Yes, hopefully. I'm going to even be conducting some retreats in the southern hemisphere in the time when it's cold up here in the northern hemisphere, and down in my area of northern Australia. It'll be very welcome and beautiful to see some people coming from a long way. Like I flew 30 hours to get to the Woodstock Fruit Festival from Northern Australia. It's a long way.
Well, then people can find your information in your website.
Yeah, they can find that there at the Sunfood Health Retreat, and we can go from there.
Yeah,
it'd be great. Okay.
Well, Dr. Robert Lockhart,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.